What should you do if your church is moving away from biblical views towards views of the world? That's the question I was asked recently. And I have three thoughts about this. And the first thought really is about setting expectations. And here's what I say about this. There's no perfect church. And if you find the perfect church, don't join it because you'll ruin it. And the reason I say that is because all churches have problems. All churches have flaws, and the reason is because all churches are composed of human beings that have problems and flaws. So it's not possible to find a church that is going to be free of those problems and flaws and other mistakes, especially even in theology. And so, yes, all churches will at times move away from biblical views towards errant views. Now, having said that, I think it's still important for us as believers to remain committed to a church, to participate in church membership, and to be submitting to church authority and to the leadership of the church. Now, that doesn't mean that you accept everything that they say. I think as like the Bereans did, they would receive what they heard and they would test it according to the scriptures to make sure it's true. But nevertheless, I think generally speaking, even though all churches are flawed in some way, even my own church, we should still make participating in church and church membership a priority. Now, the second thing I'd say is that if it turns out that you do discover that the church is moving away from biblical views towards more views of the world, then my suggestion would be that your initial inclination would not be to leave the church. Rather, I would say stay at the church and do what you can to try to correct the errant views that they hold. So, speak up, say something to the pastor, say something to the elders, to the leadership, in some way to make them aware of what's going on. After all, you're in the best position to do this. You're the one who's recognizing something's mistaken and amiss, and you want to go ahead and tell them to do that, to fix something about it. Now, if it doesn't work by just simply telling them, perhaps you could take up a position of authority yourself. Maybe if you can't become a pastor, say, but maybe you could join the elder board, or maybe you could become a deacon, or take some position of leadership so that your voice has greater weight to the problem, and so to correct the problem. So anyways, the bottom line is don't make your initial inclination be, okay, man, there's a problem with what the church is teaching. I got to get out of here. No, stay and try to do what you can. I mean, don't we as believers want churches generally to be on course, biblically speaking? Well, if so, there's one of the best ways we can do that is to stay at the church we're at and try to encourage them to adopt a more biblical view. The third thing I'd say is there might come a time where, the church is going towards a view of the world, and you've spoken up, you've done what you can to try to help them correct their course and head back on track towards a biblical view, but they just won't listen. And they've heard what you said, but they're still moving towards a worldly view of theology or whatever it might be. Well, then, at some point it might come a time where if their position and their theology is errant enough, if it's serious enough, then perhaps, you should leave the church, okay? And I would say that this would be especially true if you have young children who are a part of the Sunday school program or a part of some other church program where they're being influenced by that teaching. Then I would say, all the more reason why you might want to find another church that isn't going to influence your kids in a negative way. So again, my point simply being is, remember, all churches are flawed. They're going to all have mistakes. They're all going to have some types of problems, but we should still try to do what we can to remain at a church and help it to correct course whenever we can. But still, even if there comes a point when that isn't possible, there might come a time when we do need to leave the church. But don't make that your initial inclination. Try to stay first and do what you can to try to help it to correct course.